Hello everyone. So here we are at the recap of Genesis. I'm gonna honestly leave probably a good chunk out of my recap. I just finished writing all of it. And it's like I'm probably gonna leave a good chunk of some stuff out, but that's mostly so you can go and try and read it yourself, and this is just a recap at the end of the day. So this is not going to have everything in it. I'm going to leave a lot of stuff out. But if you want, I have videos back there where you can go listen to, or you can just open the Bible, read yourself. This is just a quick little recap before we hit Exodus. So I just thought it's better to maybe try and do it. I'm not good at this stuff, It's better to try and do it than to not make a video at all. And I just think a good recap is never hurt no one. So we're going to get into this. I have a few things written down here, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit. So essentially, as we all know, the book starts with the creation of just everything. 7 days it took 6 days, 7 to 8, So essentially on the first day, God created the heavens and the earth, and then he made light and divided the light from the darkness. Then, on the second day, God made a firmament and divided the waters that were under the firmament and the waters above the firmament, and called the firmament heaven. Bam, there we go. God gathered the water all together in one place, made oceans and, the seas. Then, the grass. He made the grass and all the not the trees, but like the herbs and the seeds and all that good jazz. I would assume the trees as well. God made the stars, sun, and the moon inside the firmament of the heavens for the earth on the fourth day, which is pretty awesome. Then God made sea creatures and all living things and told them to be fruitful and multiply, such as like cows, chickens, sheeps, stuff like that, made all those good jazz. And then God made man in his image on the fifth day and told him, you have domain over the animals. And God blessed us saying, be fruitful and multiply. And that was on the sixth day, by the way. God rested on the seventh day and blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Now, we're going to skip forward to Eden, the Garden of Eden. And God put Adam in the Garden of Eden, which had the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And God said, hey, don't you dare eat from that tree of knowledge, because if you do, you shall die. You shall surely die. Adam gave every animal its own name, which is pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool to put in there. He gave every animal its own name, which is awesome. Sometimes I used to wonder, I was like, wonder who named the animals, And now you know. Now you know. Then God made Eve. He put Adam to sleep after he was done naming all the animals. He put Adam to sleep, took a rib out of Adam's rib stomach area. You know what I'm talking about. He took a rib, and then he made woman, the first woman, out of Adam's rib. Then, that's Eve, Adam and Eve. Then they get married. They become their own covenant. Then the serpent happens to come in. He comes slithering about and tempts Eve to, he's like, hey, if, he's like, hey, God doesn't want you to eat that because then you'll be like God, sort of or thing. He kind of gets in her head while she's alone, and then she eats the fruit. She goes ahead, eats the fruit, and then gives it to Adam to eat. And then their eyes just like open up, and they know, they're like, oh, we're naked, because the entire time they were naked, but they weren't ashamed of it. They didn't know, it was just normal, because they didn't have any knowledge of being naked, like it wasn't a thing. So that after they ate it, they were ashamed of being naked. They went and sewed some stuff together, made some clothes to cover up. And then God came in and he was like, who told you guys that you're naked? and kicked him out because then he already knew they had eaten the fruit, which they were told not to. They disobeyed God. And he kicked him out of Eden and cursed them. Cursed the ground. I think that's what it says. And then you get to the first murder, which is, the Cain and Abel story. Adam and Eve had two sons. One of them was Cain, one of them was Abel. And Cain kills Abel, obviously. And God curses Cain. But the reason why Cain kills Abel is because, so Cain was to like tend the ground sort of thing. He's like, tend the ground, and Abel was in charge of like the animals, and they had to bring things to God, as a sacrifice sort of thing, or as a not a sacrifice thing. I can't think of the word, but Cain gets a little jealous because Abel is more favored in his offering, and kills him, which is why he's cursed. And Adam and Eve actually get a new son because God blesses Adam with a new seed, and they name him Seth, if you didn't know. Now we're going to skip forward quite a bit, because after all that, the world just becomes very wicked. It gets real bad. So we're going to get to Noah. Noah is born eventually, and the world is very wicked and violent at this time. It's not good at all. Noah walks with God, and he's still, very holy. So that's why God tells him, make an ark for the flood. And I can't remember the exact measurements, but he tells him exact measurements. He tells him, take, I think it's 7 clean animals. Or it's like, 7 clean animals, 7 animals of each animal to take with you on this boat. And, after that, the day comes, and Noah puts his whole family and all the animals on board, and then it rains for 40 days and 40 nights, it covers the entire earth up to the mountaintops. Like, it's all covered in water. Then, after quite a while of sailing away, I can't remember the exact bird, but Noah sends a bird out. It doesn't come back, so he goes to where the land is, because it's starting to come down. And after that, Noah builds an altar once he hits the ground, and all the animals and everything go away. He builds an altar to God, sacrifices a few animals, or just an animal, I can't remember exactly. Then God promises to never curse the ground for our sake, and he won't destroy, he won't do that again. He won't destroy everything again, because he did. Anyone who wasn't on the ark is gone, long gonzo, and so he promises to never do that again, which is, good. And then eventually, through time, we're all in the same area, and we all talk the same language. And through time, after I think Noah passes, the people of this place, I can't remember, I think it's Babylon, I think. They think to build a temple up to heaven or God or whatever. They think to build a temple all the way up to there. So I can't remember the reason why, but they think they just start to do that, and God doesn't like that too much. So that's when we all get scattered, and that's why languages are different now. That's when everyone gets scattered across the lands, which is why we're all separated now. Then eventually Abraham rolls around. Him and his wife Sarah, which at the time her name's not Sarah, it's Sariah, maybe. I think that. And at the time it's not Abraham, it's Abram, I think. So basically, he's told to leave his homeland. God tells him to leave his homeland because he's gonna go to a new promised land that God promises him. And he gets a covenant with God, and the covenant is essentially he's going to have if you look into the stars, he tells him, that's how much your descendants will be. Like, he's going to have that many descendants, as much as the stars. It's like a lot, and he promises the land of Canaan, the promised land, and he promises that to Abraham, And he tests his faith eventually because he has one kid through Hagar, which is not his wife, because she can't bear children. So he has a wife with the, I think it's a housemaid, I think. I might get that wrong. But that is, he's named as Ishmael. That's his name. And eventually Sarah bears him a child named Isaac. And when that happens, God asks him to sacrifice his son Isaac. And he takes him up to the mount. He's going to sacrifice him. But then an angel comes down with a ram. I think it's a ram. And tells him, sacrifice this instead. Thank you for your faith, though. You don't have to sacrifice your son. But it was just a test, sort of, or thing. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave Abraham's story there for you to figure out what happens next. But eventually we get to Sodom and Gomorrah. And I thought to throw this in there because it's a big story. Everyone knows about it. And just to recap it a little bit, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for its wickedness. But Lot was there. And he was saved. He was saved from the... because he wasn't wicked. So he was just living there, he was just there. So he was spared, and him and his family. And angels came and they told him, "Hey, you gotta go. It's time to go now." And so he left, and they were told not to look back when the city was being destroyed because it was loud. There's a lot of stuff going on. So he was told, just keep going forward, don't look back. Well, sadly, Lot's wife looked back, and she was turned to salt. I think it was a pillar of salt. Or was it... Hold on. Yeah, a pillar of salt. She became a pillar of salt, which is not too swell, but she disobeyed, and she was told not to look back or something bad would happen. Eventually, Lot ends up living in like a cave. Him and his 2 daughters, and gets a little weird. Then Isaac and then it's kind of where we leave Lot. He's just in that cave sort of ordeal. Isaac, and then we get to Isaac. We get back to him. That's Abraham's son, and Isaac has twin sons named Esau and Jacob. As you can know if you've been watching the past videos, I'm very bad at this name, Esau. I'm very bad at that, so I'm sorry in advance. Well, and not in advance because I said it beforehand, so I'm just sorry. Jacob is like the more highlighted son, because he really just does a lot. So I'm gonna just go through a few things that he does. So at first he takes his brother's birthright, Esau. He gets it for some soup, which is he tricks him out of his birthright, which is not good. That wasn't a good thing to do. Him and his mom, because his mom favored Jacob more than Esau for some reason. I can't remember why. I don't know if it tells us why, but I can't remember now. He goes to Laban to flee because he's scared Esau's going to try and, get revenge on him. And he goes to, he gets stuck working for Laban for years because he ends up working for Laban to try and marry his daughter, but then he gives him the wrong daughter. So he ends up working for years, marrying all these daughters because he keeps giving them to him. And then he finally gets one he truly loves and he truly wants to be with. And then he makes a wager sort of thing. Takes half of everything because he was working hard. He was in that field, taking care of all the animals, everything like that, all the livestock. And he takes half of everything, takes the daughters, and they go to head out because he's just sick of working for him. He's like, I've been working for you for all this time, and I want to go and do my own thing, sort of ordeal, because it was just more of a forced thing. So then eventually Jacob wrestles with God because he had for a blessing, and his name gets turned to Israel, and that kind of is like to just show he's been transformed and he's grown because he wasn't too good, and now he's reborn and trusts in God sort of ordeal, and that's where we'll end that at. Eventually, we get to Joseph, which is one of the 12 of Israel's sons, and Israel has 12 sons and then one daughter. I don't know all their names right now. I didn't want to write that all down because I'm like working off one page here, and I was just trying to get everything I can fit in, and so I don't have their names, but I do have Joseph, and that's one of them. And Joseph is sold by his brothers because he was sort of the favorite, and he told his he had dreams because God blessed him with being able to see see dreams, being able to depict them, sort of ordeal. And he knew he was gonna one day eventually kind of be over his brothers as like just over them as trying to think of the right word, as like a ruler, but not a ruler. Can't remember. I don't know the name of it. I'm sorry. I'm bad with explaining stuff. But they got jealous and they sold his brother. They were gonna originally murder him, but they were like, no, we'll just sell him. And they told their father that he was murdered by an animal because they ripped his clothes up a little bit, and then they put some blood on it, and they were like, yeah, he's dead. And that was a lie. He wasn't. So his father thinks he is dead by now. And he ends up in prison. Joseph ends up imprisoned in Egypt, falsely accused of sleeping with the Pharaoh's wife, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think that is, yeah. So he ends up imprisoned. And while he's in prison, the two other people that, because he's in prison for a long time. I can't remember how long. But he's in prison for a while. And while he's there, he interprets two dreams for two people that are there. And one of them is a baker, and one of them is what is the other one? He is a butler. And they both have dreams, and he tells, I think, the chef, he's going to be beheaded or something like that, executed. And the butler, I think, lives. And after he helps Joseph, and after Joseph helps them, they kind of just forget about him for quite some time after he tells them, hey, remember me when you get out of here, get me out, and he like tells them, hey, I'm in here, so just remember, because I helped you guys, so help me. And they forget about him for a while. But then Pharaoh starts having these dreams of like can't remember the dreams exactly, but there's depictively there's gonna be a famine coming. There's gonna be a famine coming, and he doesn't know. He has a bunch of people come down. He has like dozens of, people that say they can depict dreams, and they all tell him, I don't know what this means. I don't know. And then the butler's like, hey, actually, when I was in prison, or it might be the chef, I can't remember which one dies, but he's like, hey, I remember when I was in prison, there was this guy who helped me with my dream, and he gives him a fake name, because at this time Joseph's going through a fake name because I think he thinks like he just uses a different name, secret name, and eventually he gets put out of prison, gets put before the Pharaoh, and he depicts the dream, tells him, hey, we're going to have a famine in 7 years. So we're going to have 7 years of fruitfulness, 7 years of famine, and it's going to be through all the land. So it's going to be real bad. So then the Pharaoh's like, all right, well, since you were able to depict this, I'm going to make you second in command of Egypt, which is pretty awesome. So, as he's doing that for the 7 years of fruitfulness, he's like putting deposits down of food, saving it up. And then, bam, the 7 years of famine hit. And, he's having people buy food, and he's like, rationing it out pretty well. And through this time, his brothers come down from, I think they never moved. They come down and they're like, hey, and at the time they don't know that Joseph's still alive or where he's at, so they just think, whatever. They kind of forget about him. They're like, they don't know what happened to him. So they don't know. They think he's dead probably. And Joseph sees them. He's like, oh, I know those guys. I recognize those guys. That's my family. So he sees a few of his brothers, and I think there's a huge conflict of where he, I can't remember what happens for the life of me. Wow. I'm like blanking here. Sorry. I can usually remember this stuff, but I don't know. Turn the camera on. I'm like blanking. Just completely blank up here. But eventually he comes clean to his brothers after some time of some back and forths. He like sneaks a little cup in there, so they have to come back and stuff like that. And eventually they end up bonding back together. His whole family comes down, and they're put in their own part of Egypt sort of ordeal. He gives them a good chunk of land, which is awesome. The Pharaoh allows it, sort of ordeal. And let me see. And then eventually his dad dies. He goes and buries them in the same cave as his forefathers and his dad and dad and mom. And then God used the evil, and it has a verse in there that says it right as the end is, like the end of Genesis is coming, where it says something about God used the evil that, the brothers selling Joseph was an evil act. And God used that act for the good that was supposed to come of Joseph saving a bunch of people in Egypt, saving so many lives by being there just in Egypt. And he had to go through hardships there, a lot of hardships, imprisonment. I mean, it's bad, He went through a lot, but look at how the end result turned out of him being able to save his whole family, being able to save tons of just different people just by being there and helping them save for the famine, because all around the world it was just bad at the time. It was just 7 years of famine. So that's where Genesis ends at. So this is a pretty short video. I mean, it's at 22 minutes right now. So, but yeah, eventually Joseph does die right at the end of the book, actually, and that's where it ends. And we'll pick up in Exodus, where the story continues. I got my little binder here, and there'll probably be a recap for that one too. But yeah, this is just a little recap I wanted to do for my sake, and if you guys wanted to listen. Yeah, I hope you guys, if you're just watching this and you haven't watched the ones before, I hope this encourages you to go either read the Bible on your own or listen to me read it. It's just me reading it, and I'm not giving my own opinions out or anything. I'm just reading the book. So feel welcome to stay around and listen. Next week we'll be starting Exodus together, and we'll continue on throughout. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good week, a good day. I hope that if anyone is listening to this and they haven't went to church in a while, I hope this can help you get back into church. I appreciate everyone for coming again, and yeah. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Laters, Gator.